Here it goes. Will the traitor take the bait?
Alfreda stood at the front of the conference room, with the majority of the entire staff in front of her. The operatives were to the right side, while the arcanists from R&D were on the left. All of the employees from Anam Refining were at the back. Linnet and Elvinia stood on the back wall, and they locked gazes with Alfreda. Both of their eyes twinkled with apprehensive urgency, and Linnet held her arms close to her body. Elvinia held her hands behind her back, pinning them to the wall. Perhaps to avoid nervous twitching, Alfreda wrestled with the possibilities even more profoundly. For under her nose, someone was doing something terrible. It wasn't lost on her that the emergence of Titania technologies was paired with this intrusion. How long had it been going on? How many secrets were stolen?
All right. Thank you for coming to this surprise and brief staff meeting. I have some exciting news. We had an amazing breakthrough from our R&D department, something that is going to change the entire scope of what we do. I am overjoyed by its development.
Most of the staff reacted how Alfreda had expected, with widened eyes and budding anticipation. Olilee, on the other hand, watched with a knowing gaze. She crossed her arms over her chest and braced herself.
Our arcanist Olilee made an amazing discovery and has developed an artifact that will enhance and gather 300% more Anam energy from a given area without harming or affecting the human population. Olilee, would you like to stand up for a second and explain how it works?
For just a moment, the arcanist locked gazes with a specific operative. That couldn't be helped, as Olilee trusted Karina unwaveringly. As Linnet and Elvinia also vouched for her, Alfreda had cast away most of the misgivings she had about the new operative. Still, how would Karina act to what was about to be said?
As you may or may not know, I have been logging in extra hours after my shift to work on some personal side projects. Well, my assistant and I developed a way of supercharging the Anam energy being collected by inputting it into my brand new invention, the Cosmic Forge.
The other R&D arcanists were the most surprised, and they watched their colleague with ravenous attention. Murmurs rippled through the Anam refining workers, and slight whispers drifted in between operatives. A couple of the operatives nudged Karina, but she didn't respond.
The best way I can explain it is this. Imagine the Anam energy entering into the Cosmic Forge as raw, unmolded power. The Cosmic Forge manipulates the energy and then turns it into strings of energy. Then it weaves the strings together, like how steel cords are constructed. Through the use of the same cosmic forces that make stars, we pressurize the strings to be incredibly dense. This is going to make all the Anam we collect way more potent.
Olilee sat down once more, and more people started murmuring with one another. The Anam refining staff talked about the implications of trying to refine dense Anam, while the trio of arcanists huddled together and whispered about how the science behind it would even work. Operatives spoke to one another, although Karina was left out of the conversation. She looked toward Olilee, who simply stared ahead. And now, the worm.
Olilee and Karina will be dispatched to field test this artifact at a secret location. Once we gather enough data about the performance of this new development, we will begin to implement these new innovations in our Anam vaporators and collection initiatives. There's no way Titania Tech will be able to compete with us once we have this in place. You are all dismissed. I just wanted to bring this to your attention and celebrate Olilee's genius.
Alfreda glanced over the crowd toward Linnet and Elvinia. They nodded to her, and she smiled all the more, in hopes to hide the anguish within.
Everyone, meet me in the boot factory off of Henderson Avenue. There is a disturbance there. See you soon.
It was only luck that Dana had been close enough to the factory to feel the pull of Nymphian magic. She had just finished her third date with Raquel, and she was driving home when she felt the ripples on the edge of her perception. After following it to its source, the Vinco boot factory. Dana pulled over her car and stood in the mouth of an alley. Even now, she felt the constant pulses of crudely implemented Anam harvesting. This didn't feel how the Oberon Corporation Nymphians harvested Anam. It was crude due to its savagery. There were elements of pain and suffering in the air, and it scraped against Dana's skin like dirty fingernails. As she had just left Raquel, it was understandable that she got there first. A wild heat slithered through Dana's veins, as they had just spent the last hour making out. Raquel moved into the depths of the alley, stepped up and gently kissed Dana on the cheek. She placed her back against the opposite wall in the alley.
So I'm the first one, huh? How bad is it?
Pretty bad. I haven't gone in or anything, but the energy I'm sensing from the factory is unsettling. These Nymphians are probably the evil ones, so be ready for a fight.
Oh, I am? I mean, you kind of supercharged me.
Sorry about that. Let's just say, it's been a long time for me. Having anyone show interest, it's nice.
I also think it's nice. By the way, I promise not to make it weird when the others show up. I really like you, and don't want to be too clingy.
Thank you. I like you too. I hope the others get here soon.
The sounds of footsteps echoing on the pavement bounced off of the walls of the alley, and both Raquel and Dana stood up straighter. They balled their fists and stared into the depths of the darkness. And just like that, Faheem strolled out of the shadows, dressed in his mechanic's jumpsuit and his black boots. He stopped about 6 feet away from them.
Did I scare you? Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. It's just late and we're in a rougher part of town.
And you just leisurely strolled out of the darkness like you're freaking Jaden.
Ah, yes. Saturday the 14th series. I enjoyed the soundtracks from those movies.
There was a noise from beyond the alley, and Faheem stepped around both Dana and Raquel. His fists were balled and he squared his shoulders. Paul stepped past the mouth of the alley, but he jumped back when he saw Faheem.
Whoa! Easy there. It's me. I'm the guy with the shield. You're the one with the sparkling purple underwear, right?
Yes, I'm the one with sparkling purple underwear. I am Faheem, but you can also call me Boreas.
Paul, also known as Hestia.
Paul stepped into the alley while Faheem walked behind Dana and Raquel.
Oh, great, you're all here. Well, all that we know of so far.
You mentioned another Sparkle Guardian in the group text, an Iris. Do you think he'll show up tonight?
I'm not sure. We can't worry about him now, though. We have to mentally prepare ourselves for this fight. Now remember, these Nymphians are dangerous and want to kill us. Don't let your guard down.
Right. You can count on us.
I'll do my best.
They will not defeat us.
Dana pulled out her golden drachma, and so did the others. All at once, they raised their coins above their head.
Demeter Sparkling Power!
Boreas sparkling power!
Persephone sparkling power!
Hestia Sparkling Power!
The field of light surrounding Dana encased her in a loving whirlwind of leaves and petals. Her clothes fell away and were replaced by her Sparkle Guardian Demeter attire. When the light faded, the others had emerged from their own nimbuses of light, clad in their outfits.
We're going to go in there, kick their asses, and then leave before the police show up. Is everyone ready?
Yes!
A voice echoed from above them.
Would you mind if I join you?
Dana glanced up and noticed a person hovering above them, adorned in a pearlescent outfit, with a pair of wings and a scepter with a rainbow gem as its headpiece. He gently landed before the group.
Pearlescent clothes. Are you Sparkle Guardian Iris?
The new guardian opened his mouth to speak, but Paul stepped forward, a wide smile creasing his face.
Joon Woo? No way! You're a Sparkle Guardian too?
Wait, Paul? Whoa! I had no idea! What a small world!
No kidding. Everyone, this is my friend Joon Woo. He goes to university with me and Raquel, but he's in the conservatory program.
You're a musician.
Yes, I am. I play the viola. One day, I aspire to be a world-class performer in a symphony orchestra.
I really enjoy classical music. I have some fantastic records of some of the...
I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off, and I'm all for getting to know one another, but we're about to leap into the fray. Sparkle Guardian Iris meets Sparkle Guardian Hestia, Boreas, and Persephone. I'm Sparkle Guardian Demeter.
Dana gestured to each of the Guardians in turn when she said their names.
Demeter is our leader. By the way, here's a rundown on powers.
In turn, she pointed to each person.
Killer Scythe, Plant Lady, Fireballs and Shields, Ice Tornadoes, and then there's you. What do?
With this scepter, I can communicate telepathically. Neat, right? Also, it leaves a rainbow tracer when I bonk people.
Okay, well, welcome to the team. I assume you felt the tremors in the air?
Yes, they have been pulsating for the last couple of hours, and I've been waiting to see if anything happened. Aside from the pulses, it's strange.
I don't think we should split up, as they may be lying in wait. We may be stronger together. Iris, are you able to detect others who are waiting for us?
Yes, my range is about 60 feet.
Okay, as we're still a new team, we can try being as safe as possible. What would Shikataru do?
Wait, Shikataru, as in Maruto.
Yes, I really like anime, okay? Iris, please move in behind Hestia, as he has the best defensive capabilities. Persephone is the most aggressive, so you'll take the lead. And Boreas, could you back her up? You have some great long-range capabilities. As I'm a healer, I can take up the rear, but I also have plant vine powers. Does that sound good?
Sounds good to me.
I'll do my best.
Both Boreas and Iris nodded. Demeter gestured toward the factory, and Persephone peeked out of the edge of the corner. When it was clear, Persephone darted across the street, making her way toward the chain-linked fence. Both Iris and Boreas flew after her, while Demeter and Hestia had to sprint behind. Just as Persephone got up to the gate, a small tornado swirled under her feet, and it started to lift her up. She started to panic, but Boreas flew up beside her.
Just remain still and let the wind carry you.
Okay, but can you maybe make it warmer?
No, I'm the Sparkle Guardian of icy tornadoes, not tropical winds.
Iris landed beside where Boreas set Persephone down, and Hestia was the next one to be lifted. When it was Demeter's turn, a chilling gust swept around her, and her skin writhed in winter kisses. She hunched in on herself and couldn't help but have some chattering teeth when the winds finally dissipated.
I know, right?
Let's go.
The Sparkle Guardians took the formation that Demeter had suggested, and while it wasn't a bad formation, it was still a clunky tactic. There wasn't any cohesion, and it was clear in the way the others moved. Well, there wasn't anything she could do about it at the moment. It wasn't too hard to find a way inside the factory. There was an open slot where a truck would either load or unload its cargo. As soon as they got inside, Demeter's insides started to twist in on her. There it was. All the Sparkle Guardians had been found. But would it be enough? After entering in through the docks, they came to a massive area, the main production floor of the boot factory. Located in the middle of the factory were 12 humans, all bound and laid beside one another in a pile. There were 2 large spinning orbs that frequently shot out small bolts of lightning into one of the humans, which resulted in that bolt stealing some of the human's soul energy.
Be careful, we're not alone.
A static and angry gremlin thrashed within Dana, but she backhanded it back into the depths of her mind. Her eyes danced all around the confines of the boot factory, but everything was still. Dana tapped her temple toward Iris, and then he nodded. She thought what she wanted to say.
Okay, team, I have a plan. Persephone, I want you to sprint up there along with Hestia and defend him until he gets in place. When you get to where the humans are, Hestia, please create a bubble shield around them. Your job is to keep them alive and undamaged in case things go badly. You got that?
Hestia gave a small nod.
Persephone, as soon as you get him there, be prepared to fight. You take the right side, I'll take the left side. Boreas and Iris, can you take out those orbs, then provide us cover when you can?
United as one, Persephone, Boreas, and Iris all nodded. Demeter drew in a deep breath and filtered magic into her staff. She made a gesture, and suddenly the Sparkle Guardians moved into action. As soon as she slid to the left side of the mass of people, wax-like monsters shambled out of the darkness. Demeter slammed her staff into the ground. Thick plant vines burst up from the ground and wrapped around them. One of them got too close, and Demeter ducked under their grotesque, almost flesh-like arms. She responded in kind by swinging her staff at its ankles and knocking it to the floor. A heavy sound of metal against metal crashed behind her, but Demeter shifted out of the way of another wax creature's punch. Spiky vines wrapped around him, and then she controlled it to swing its grappled minion into a crowd of 4 others. They all collapsed in a pile. 4 girthy vines burst up from the ground and smashed them seconds later. A small part of Demeter wanted to gaze back to double-check on the others, but she resisted. She had given them tasks, and she had to trust them to do what she asked them to do. Nevertheless, she kept her hearing poised for sounds of distress. Again and again, she swatted wax minions away with her staff, or she used her plant magic to crush minions into clumps. A brilliant energy shield flared to life, and Demeter spared a moment to look at the others. Both of the metal orbs had been destroyed. One of them laid against the far wall, while the second was on the ground, beneath where Iris hovered. Persephone swung her scythe in wide arcs, cutting down anyone who dared to get close. Boreas sent tornadoes at wax figure minions, which tossed them about like hunks of debris.
Now that you're warmed up, the real fun can begin.
Demeter darted her attention around, for she had never heard that voice before. And just like that, the real battle began. Dozens of lacquered wood minions stormed out of the shadows, as if it were recess. These new minions' faces were designed to be gleeful. It only added to their menacing nature. Included with them were 3 Nymphians. The one who stepped up to Dana was one she had never seen before, but she immediately identified. The Nymphian had short, dark red hair, a crimson suit with azure pinstripes, a matching tie, and a stark white buttoned-up shirt. A wicked sneer was on her face as she peered up at Dana. From elsewhere, she heard the others come in contact with the other 2 Nymphians.
I have been waiting to play with you again. I'm going to clip your wings.
Demeter leveled her staff in front of her as the new Nymphian took another step toward her.
So you're her, aren't you? Merica's daughter.
The smile fell away from the Nymphian's face, and her eyes narrowed critically. However, this time when the grin returned, Demeter's spine wiggled inside her.
You're well-informed. Too well-informed for a mere magical girl. That raises interesting implications indeed. The name is Kolumbia, girl. Remember it well.
We won't let you harm these people anymore. You can't have any more of their Anam energy.
You silly fool. They were only bait.
Bait?
After all, I had to lure you all here so I could meet you.
Kolumbia extended her right hand, and then liquid metal oozed from under her sleeve. It coated her forearm and palm and created a massive metal claw.
Pleased to meet you.
With excessive speed and force, Kolumbia swung her metal beast hand at her. Demeter ducked at the last moment, but the gust that trailed her swing made her eyes flutter. Demeter slammed her staff against Kolumbia's ribcage, but the staff struck hard metal. The spot where she had aimed had been covered in liquid metal split seconds before the impact. Kolumbia grinned wider. From the corner of Demeter's eye, she saw Persephone, who was bent down on one knee. Rather than hold her scythe, she had her head in both hands. The blue-haired Nymphian stood over her, and waves of sickly orange-colored magic shimmered from the Nymphian's hands, bombarding Persephone.
No one really loves you. You're just a joke. An experiment. A bit of fun between dicks.
Tears streamed down Persephone's face. The blue-haired Nymphian glared hungrily at her, right until Iris's scepter clocked her in the face. She tumbled backwards a few steps, and Iris swooped back up into the air. A massive metal rod barreled into Demeter's stomach, and she keeled over. Her air was stolen, and she desperately tried to regain it. The metal rod had grown from Kolumbia's stomach, shooting out like a spear. Slowly it retracted back into the vile Nymphian, until it was no more.
Excuse me, but I believe you and I were dancing. Focus on me or I'll kill you.
Kolumbia's metal hand came quicker than Demeter would have liked. She was struck so hard that she flew over the top of one of the boot conveyor belts. Anguish crawled up and down her nerves. A masculine voice screamed out. God! Demeter couldn't see what was happening, but she heard the roar of the tornado and the subsequent sound of the bodies being flung against the walls. Slowly, Demeter pushed herself up, just as Kolumbia emerged into sight. She still had her clawed hand, and she held it up as if she were a waiter, ready to give another wonderful treat.
You were the magical girl who helped in the slaying of my mother. It seems you've come a long way. I was hoping to find you. Where are the others? The 3 who are not here.
I'll never tell you. You'll never find them.
Oh, honey. When I'm through with you, they will come to me.
Demeter summoned all of her magic, and she rushed her hands forward. Dozens of vines, both spiked and not spiked, wrapped around Kolumbia, encasing her in a plant cocoon. Her nerve endings throbbed viciously, but she cast aside the pain. With a clunky sort of grace, Demeter flipped over one of the conveyor belts and managed to get to her feet on the other side. Her senses were coming back to her after being jumbled by Kolumbia's previous pimp hand. Just as she started to run toward where the rest of the combat took place, something terrible happened. Massive blades emerged from the plant cocoon, and then they spun around like the inner workings of a food processor. When they finally stopped, the blades slowly began to sink back in. The plant clumps fell around Kolumbia's feet. Kolumbia locked eye contact with Demeter, and she grinned.
Oh, that was cute.
Kolumbia vaulted over the conveyor belt, and then she dashed toward Demeter with grim menace. Her claw glistened in the light.
Oh, hell no. I'm pissed off. And you Nymphians are going to pay!
Persephone leapt in front of Demeter with her scythe poised. The blade of the scythe began glowing brighter, and Persephone brought it back ever so slightly. For a brief moment, Kolumbia's entire body became covered in liquid metal. Despite that, Persephone still swung. The blade of the scythe connected with Kolumbia's ribcage, and then there was a loud boom. A brilliant flash dazzled Demeter's eyes for a moment, and then Kolumbia sailed away. She slammed into a distant wall, still covered in liquid metal. The metal Nymphian stood up calmly, but there was a massive series of cracks where the scythe blade struck. Blood drained from the open wound. Kolumbia's smile still remained. The sword Nymphian started to charge toward Persephone, but Demeter jammed the end of her staff into the ground. Vines burst up from underneath her and tried to grapple the sword Nymphian. With a flurry of twists, the Nymphian diced the vines apart. Seconds later, a chilling tornado barreled into her and tossed her into the air. Iris flew past her and bonked her in the face. The sword Nymphian tumbled to the ground and then rolled away.
Don't worry, I got you.
Sickly orange tendrils of energy slithered into him, coming from the blue-haired Nymphian.
Let's get recognized.
She stopped a moment later when an icy tornado started moving toward her with haste.
Oh, I don't think so.
She cartwheeled out of the way of the tornado. Kolumbia casually walked back up to where the fighting was still taking place.
Oh, you all are going to be way more fun than I expected. Nymphians, retreat for now.
Kolumbia pointed at Demeter, and the twinkle in her eye drove pins into her soul.
The next time we meet, I will make you pay for what you did to my mother.
Kolumbia pulled out a black crystal, and then there was a deep blue flash of light. Several other flashes lit up the interior of the factory. And then there was silence.
Is everyone still alive?
The shield Hestia had conjured finally fell away.
The civilians are safe and undamaged.
I'm alive, but sliced up pretty bad.
A massive gash ran up Boreas's left leg.
I got punched a couple of times, but I'm good.
I'm okay. Nothing some cuddling and dinner won't cure.
Sirens began piercing the night.
Let's get out of here. Once we're away, I'll heal all your wounds.
We've got a hit.
Elvinia sat on her couch with her laptop open on her coffee table. Linnet came out of the kitchen and she leaned on the back of the couch. Her face was contorted in apprehension, which surely matched the unease that was within Elvinia's own insides.
We have a captured image of someone scanning the device. Are you ready to see who the traitor is?
No, I'm not ready. Why would someone do this to us? We're good people. We're putting positive energy into the world. Why do some people have to suck?
Even with all my knowledge and research skills, I can't find an answer to that question. 5, 4, 3...
2, 1, do it.
Elvinia activated the function, and the image of a face appeared on the screen. Acid bubbled in her stomach, and every inch of her skin writhed.
Sarita!